Hi, I'm William Stewart, co-founder of Teleos. Welcome back to our verse-by-verse study on the book of Acts. We're in, excuse me, chapter 19, in Ephesus, the third missionary journey by the Apostle Paul, probably sometime around 55, 56 AD. We don't know the time exactly. We've just got through the story of the sons of Sheva and that they were beat upon by a demon. And this caused many people to believe, but that's not all that's happened in Ephesus, this great coastal southwestern port city that was so important in trade. Let's go to the text. We'll summarize this story for time efficiency, but hopefully you'll gain an understanding. Verse 31, Paul had purpose in the Spirit. We don't know what this means, this terminology. It's literally in the original Greek, tethemi in, placed in the Spirit. It's not used elsewhere that I can find. And it either means that the Spirit gave him special direction, as it had done before in his missionary journeys, or he was mature in the Spirit. I'm thinking probably the former, but we really don't know. He passed through Macedonia and Achaia to go through Jerusalem, saying, after there, I also want to go to Rome. And of course, we know that he does this eventually. He sent into Macedonia two of those that had been with him, ministered with him, Timothy and Erastus. He stayed in Asia, however, for a season. So he then goes to Ephesus, and at the same time, there was no small stir in that way. And this is in Asia, Ephesus. Ephesus is in Asia. And for a certain man named Demetrius, a silversmith, who made the shrines at the temple Diana. Now, Diana, this great temple, it was one of the seven wonders of the ancient world, originally built to Artemis, back around 450 BC, probably earlier actually, and it was destroyed by fire by a madman and was rebuilt. And I believe it was later then christened to Diana, the god of reason or thinking, to my limited pantheon knowledge. And they apparently sold idols in the likeness of Diana at great profit around this temple, which received a lot of visitors. However, Demetrius had noted that Paul persuaded many people to turn away from paganism, which was happening all across the empire. And he's noted that Paul was famous for doing this, and it had hurt their business. So he riled up his colleagues who also made these idols, and they were upset. So they stirred up the people, as is their way of doing things, people who hate God. They caught two of the Christians, Gaius and Aristarchus. This is in verse 29, and they brought them to the theater, and there was a great tumult among the people there and chaos. Paul, in verse 30, wanted to enter the theater to address the crowds, but his colleagues restrained him, saying that would not be wise. So at that point, then, the Jews put up Alexander to speak for them, perhaps to distance themselves from the Christians and not be caught up in being mistaken for the same belief. However, the town clerk stood up and addressed the crowd and calmed them, and basically saying that these people, the Christians, had done nothing wrong, and that if you're going to accuse them, they come up with an accusation and do it through the courts in a lawful assembly. And he then dismissed the assembly, and that was it. So a good ending this time. So what we've seen here is how Christianity was affecting the economic sectors of some of the towns that they were in. For people who made a profit off of worshiping false gods. Again, like typical, they didn't try to come and say, this is why you are wrong. They just tried to stir up the people, again, with the usual breakdown in law and order, which the Romans valued. So if they could blame this on the Christians, that they were disrupting the law and the quiet and the peace, then they could potentially have them thrown out of the city or worse, suppressed, killed, on and on. It didn't work because the court recognized what they were doing and basically told them to disperse and follow the law. Okay, thanks be to God for that. Okay, so we will continue then on the third missionary journey next time in chapter 20. And fascinating stories on the early church, seeing God work, protect the church, grow the church, use Paul and his disciples, and real men of faith examples to us. And so grateful for these people who worked on behalf of us so early in Christianity. I'll see you next time.